Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, you guys are picking my makeup. I went ahead and hopped onto stories over on Instagram and threw up a few polls asking y'all to help me decide which products to test out today. Some of these products I actually haven't even tried out yet. I tried my best to go through my collection and find things that I don't use too often. I think I did a pretty good job. So let me go ahead and open up Instagram stories. Also, I would totally give credit to whoever created this video, but I'm honestly not quite sure. I've seen a ton of different people post it. So if you guys happen to know who started it, let me know down below because I would love to give them credit. Okay, so for primers, we had a choice of the 𝗟𝗧𝗧'𝗦 Greek Yogurt Smoothie Primer or the 𝗟𝗘𝗧'𝗦 Fresh Dewy Primer. Both of them are supposed to be more moisturizing. Those are just typically the type of primers that I go for. So it looks like 𝗟𝗧𝗧 won. So let's go ahead and start off with that guy here. I actually haven't used this in a while. I remember liking it, but I honestly don't remember too much about it. Oh, there we go. Ew. That's embarrassing. I haven't used this in a while, so I had to get that first little like plug out, like the mucus plug. Why am I the way that I am? The scent is very, very like just kind of neutral. It reminds kind of like a subtle sunscreen, like unscented lotion type of smell, if that makes sense. I already do have an actual like moisturizer on though. I've been using the Tatcha Dewy Skin Cream, which I absolutely love. This primer though does feel really nice. Why don't I use this more often? I'm gonna go ahead and let that sit in. I normally like to do my eyes first and then my foundation. I always like to go in with something moisturizing, and then I typically always use the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood filter. I did not let that be an option today though because I know I use that way too much. So the choices that we have are the Catrice Light Correcting Primer Serum. I have the Pearl one as well, which I really do like that, or the MAC Hyper Real Foundation in Rose Gold FX. However, it looks like Catrice won by quite a bit. All right, so here's what the product looks like. I'm just going to lightly dab this all over just to give my skin a bit of an additional glow. But it also gives kind of like a sheer bronze, which is good just because I feel like my neck is definitely a bit darker than my face. Ooh. I forgot how much I like this. I may have put on a little bit much though because it does feel slightly sticky. Now moving on to eyeshadow palettes. This one honestly took me by surprise. I thought you guys would challenge me and have me use the MAC Art Library It's Designer, which I haven't even used this palette yet, but there's lots of neons in here. So I thought for sure you guys were going to make me use that one just to bust out some colors, but the votes were for the BALM What's the Tea Hot Tea eyeshadow palette. So along with the shadows, you have two eyelid primers as well, a neutral one and then a black eyelid primer just to really help kind of intensify shades and make them pop a bit more. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with the neutral eyelid primer here on the top and just pat this all over my eye. It definitely looks a lot darker in the pan, like it looks like a deeper beige, but on your eyes, it definitely just kind of goes on, kind of like a tackier version of the Urban Decay primer potion. I think I'm gonna go ahead and start off with a shade called Receipts. Oh, that color's pretty light though. Okay, yeah, I feel like I do need something a bit more pigmented, so we're just gonna lay that down first and then I'll go in with something deeper. There we go. So I'm just going to sweep this right into the crease. I think I actually want to mix it with a little bit of Hey Girl Hey, which is this really pretty kind of like terracotta red color. I'll just blend those two colors together. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and blend this out some more and then we'll start going in with some lid action. The color in here, Tell All, looks really pretty. It kind of reminds me of like the MAC Blue Brown Pigment. Although I do wanna take this color down here called Scandalous. This just looks like a richer, deep brown. Wow, that looks real pigmented on the brush. And maybe just deepen up the crease even more. Why not? I feel like I've been playing with so many like brighter corals. Maybe it's time for something more smoky and deep. Okay, let's go ahead and put this black eyelid primer to the test. I think I'm gonna use this as the base and then go in with that Tell All color just because that's definitely like the shimmer shade in here that's really speaking to me the most. These are so creamy. Like the second your finger touches it, it's like the heat really just melts it. I think this primer would be a great base just to create like a really nice smoky eye, because while it's opaque, you can really kind of sheer it out to where you don't end up with like, you know, a black punched raccoon eye. little trash pandas. I love raccoons. They're so cute. The other day we went for a walk in the evening and we saw 2 raccoons like jump into the sewer. I felt a little bit bad, like, where are you going? Is that your home? I go down these like black holes of watching people on YouTube that have like exotic pets. Although I know sometimes those videos end up having like a negative effect because then everybody's like, I want a raccoon or a fox or this or that. But you know, it definitely takes like a responsible owner with a lot of time on their hands to have a wild animal as a pet. Ooh, that is beautiful. I love this color. Okay, and then I posted a few of the liquid shadows. I'm not even gonna lie, I was really hoping that you guys were gonna vote for the Huda Beauty ones because I really wanted to use like some of these weird like aqua and green shades. We could always save that for another tutorial. But the votes were casted and y'all picked the 𝗟𝗦𝗖𝗜𝗓 Caviar Chrome Veil Lightweight Liquid Eye Color. That is a mouthful. Surprisingly enough, I haven't tested these yet. I have swatched them and the swatches were beautiful. Whenever I look at the colors here, I think Opalescent is like the perfect partner in crime for this eyeshadow. These just have like a spade doe foot applicator. Instead of patting this right on just because I don't want to ruin the rest of the shadow, I think I'm going to take it on my finger instead, lightly. This is just like pulling out those like kind of aqua turquoise shades in there. Yep, this is the perfect combo. You know, with the Stella glitter and glows, like they don't feel crispy on the lid, but whenever you swatch them, you can kind of feel a little bit of the glitter. These are more like pearlized shimmers than actual like large glitter particles. Did I tap that out too much? I feel like it lost some of its intensity. Let's go in with a little, actually, let me go ahead and let that dry down first before I add on more. Sometimes with liquid shadows, if you get a little too happy and keep piling it on, then you end up with just that gross, like, crusty layer. I definitely don't want that. All right, now moving on to foundation. I'm not even gonna lie, I was a little bit disappointed in this one as well because I've really been wanting to try this Photo Stick foundation. Plus, I think on Ulta right now, this is on like major sale for like $3.95. But the votes were for the Hourglass Vanish Seamless Finish Liquid Foundation. I haven't even tried these yet because whenever I was reading the little like pamphlet that came in it, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, like super full coverage. I typically go for more like dewy and natural, and this seems to be more of like a matte or like satin matte finish with extra full coverage. So I've been putting it off to the side. So this foundation has 661 reviews on Sephora with only 3.5 stars, which isn't that great. The shade range looks pretty good. So I have 3 shades here. Whenever I look at them in the bottle, I'm thinking I'm going to be between natural and warm ivory. It retails for $56. You don't get 1 full ounce, so it's 0.84 ounces. But when I read on here, it says that you only need half a pump. No primer needed. A highly concentrated liquid foundation designed to deliver instant full coverage with just half a pump. Whenever I received this foundation as PR, they also sent over a brush, so I'm guessing this is the best way to apply. This is just their Vanish Seamless Foundation Brush. It is very cute and super soft. We decided on warm ivory. Let's see how much half a pump actually does. Going to pick some, oh, I feel like the brush picked up a lot of it. And just start spreading this out. Oh yeah, that's definitely full coverage. I don't know if I really like this brush that much with it. Like, I feel like I have to get more because it seems like this brush really does kind of absorb quite a bit of the product. Maybe it's best to just apply it directly to my face and then go in with a sponge. So I mean, I'm just going to take a teeny tiny bit. I mean, that was less than a pea size, and I'm just kind of spreading it out and then go in with the brush. It really does feel weightless on my face though. Like with the coverage, normally with this type of coverage, you expect it to be more like drying and heavy, but this really does feel like nothing. Ooh, look, it is already, do you see that? Ew. Yeah, it's like you have to be really moisturized, I think, for this foundation. If you have dry skin all over, I would not recommend this one unless you really want to go in and prep your face, because I mean, you saw around my nose where it's really dry, it just already looks crusty right there. But I'm thinking, since this formula does feel so weightless, this could be a formula that you go in and mix with one of your like lighter hydrating foundations. this might be the type of foundation that works like magic when it's mixed with something else. While I really do like the angle of this brush, I don't think it's a necessity, especially if you already have like a favorite foundation brush. I would just go with that. I think I'm gonna go ahead and go wet one of my sponges though, and try and see if I go in with just a touch bit more of product on a wet sponge, if that'll kind of fix what's going on around the sides of my nose. All right, let's go ahead and see if the sponge helps. That just, hold on, I think this is too bright. That just like completely removed the foundation. What is happening? I wonder if it's that primer. Okay, I'm gonna go in with a makeup wipe, remove all of this. Maybe that primer, doing that second layer on top of that serum just wasn't the way to go. Okay, so take two. I realize you guys voted for a primer. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that, but I went ahead and skipped the primer and just used a moisturizer. So if this still messes up, then it's the foundation's fault. The primer that I used wasn't like an oily based primer. I know sometimes if you use something really matte, then you obviously want to go in with something more like water based. You don't want to use an oil based primer. And that was definitely just like a typical kind of moisturizing primer. So I don't know what happened there. Let's go ahead and try this again. I do still want to try one more time with the sponge. Maybe I'll just do it lighter down here and see what happens with that. Okay, so maybe it was just some fluke with me going in with that second layer of primer. Like it could have been too, I don't know, wet underneath or something. With the sponge, just like with many other foundations, it definitely makes the formula a bit more sheer, which I personally like. I can still always go in and build it up and not just have as full coverage immediately. Obviously with a sponge, I'm having to use more than just half a pump, but even with a brush, I felt like I still had to use more than half a pump because a lot of the product was just being soaked right into that brush. So here's the final layer of the foundation. I have to say, I'm definitely a lot happier with it this round. I don't know what happened earlier, and the finish is a lot better than what I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be a complete flat matte. With that sponge, I just feel like, I don't know, the application was much easier than with the brush, but I'm someone who prefers a sponge anyways. Okay, moving on for concealers, I I posted on the poll. My word choices sometimes, I swear. The 𝗟𝗓𝗧 Flawless Fusion, which I love, so I'm kind of glad that you guys didn't pick that one just so I could go in and try something else. This is the Catrice Liquid Camouflage High Coverage Concealer, lasts 12 hours. I think maybe light beige will be a good option. Maybe I'll just start off with this much and then tap it out with my finger first, and then we'll blend from there. Oh, as I patted it out, you could definitely see more of like the golden undertones in it. Also, the rest of my face, it kind of just feels like it's set on its own. I don't think I'm really gonna have to powder. Obviously, I will powder my under eyes, but I don't think I'm gonna have to go in and do anything to the rest of my face. So I may have spoken a bit too soon. I am starting to see some creasing in my smile lines. That's pretty common for me though, so I'm not gonna be too harsh about that. But for setting powders, I almost said sprays. For setting powders, your two choices were the Lancome Long Time No Shine in translucent, or the Kokie Cosmetics translucent powder, which I haven't used this in forever. This is what, one, so we will go in with this little guy here. I honestly kind of forgot about this because it was sitting in my drawer of pressed powders and not in the loose powder drawer where he belongs. It does have a little bit of a like very, very slight banana tint. So I'm just gonna use the same sponge, pick some up, and then I always like to kind of blot some off onto the back of my hand and then just press this right into my under eye wrinkles and set that into place. So there is setting powder. Now, if you guys were following along on Instagram stories, then you may have noticed that I did not put a bronzer option, and that's because I have a new bronzer that I really wanted to try out with y'all on camera, although I'm not gonna lie, I have used it once already and I've really been liking it. This is the brand new Bare Minerals Endless Summer Bronzer in the shade Warmth. So they have their shades Warmth and Faux Tan, which were their really popular, you know, just, well, I guess they still sell them, the bronzers in the mineral powders, but now they have it in pressed powders, and I love them. They're so silky, they blend out so nicely, so I'm going to be using it with their Seamless Shaping and Finish bronzer. They have liquid bronzers as well, which I need to do a video on those soon. And their highlighters, oh, I should have put that as a choice. Dang it, what was I thinking? Their highlighters though are beautiful. The one in Joy, especially if you're doing like a coral kind of like tropical vibes look, It's this gorgeous like light golden peach highlighter. I really like this bronzer because you can go in and build it up. It applies more sheer, obviously, unless you go in with like a crap ton on the brush, but I always like products like that I can gradually go in and build up and not be stuck with like an orange red streak right away with like the first application. Now moving on to blush, I gave y'all, well, obviously 2 options, but I was showing several different options from the buxom category. So it was versus the Wanderlust blushes, or what is this even called? Is it just Modern Metals? Maybe we'll do a mixture. We'll go ahead and start off with this one in the middle first, just kind of like a neutral mauve. Dust off some of the excess. I have used this orange before and I really liked it, but I don't think I've really played with this one much. Wow, that's a lot more pigmented than I thought it was going to be. Go ahead and try to blend this out some. I'm just gonna hit it with a sponge lightly. It is a really pretty color though. It just ended up being much more pigmented than what I thought. And everything seems to be applying really nicely on top of the foundation. For highlighters, I gave y'all the choice of the Physicians Butter highlighters, which I absolutely love these. I had forced myself to put down rose gold for a while because I was literally using it like every single day. So I was like, okay, we need to use something else. So I was really excited that you guys chose these. But it was going up against one of the Huda Beauty 3D highlighter palettes, just in case you've never seen these before. It comes with a cream product inside and then 3 powder highlighters. I like to just apply it with a sponge. I'm going to bounce the sponge right into this little pot. And then, oh, I'm getting heavy-handed. That's what happens. Like, I don't use something in a while and then I forget how pigmented it actually is. I definitely prefer these highlighters over the ColourPop Super Shock Cheek highlighters. Like, I love ColourPop, I love their eyeshadows, but I've said this before, I'm just not as crazy about their cheek products. Something about the Physicians Formula ones I think just apply much smoother, and I just like the way that they look a lot more. So I'm going to dip into the shade Hey Girl Hey and Ooh La La and just use those to really kind of smudge this brown shade out. So I like to start with the smaller brush first, just because it feels a little bit more dense and can kind of pull that liner. And then I like to flip over to the other side and then really, oh, that ended up being a little bit more red than what I wanted. Okay, let's take a little bit of Scandalous, which was that deep shade that we use on the outer corner, and blend that right on top. That way you kind of get more of like a plummy brown. And I think that just kind of intensifies the look of that like blue-brown pigment we have on the top. Okay, I do want to go ahead and just add a little something to my inner corner. So I'm going to stick with this palette, which I really have been happy with. The only thing so far, this first shade that I use, I wish there was a little bit more pigmentation to that. That seemed very sheer. That's Scandalous, Ooh La La, Hey Girl Hey, all those I was very happy with. Oh, and of course, Tell All. But for my inner corner, I'm going to go in with Spill the Beans. It just looks like this really nice kind of, is it duochrome? No, just like a pearl white gold. I'm just gonna take this itty bitty little baby. Actually, let's go ahead and spritz it. We'll just use some all-nighter because that's close by. This is just a small Real Techniques brush. And we're just gonna pick up a tiny bit of that and just add a little bit to the inner corner because I can't resist. I feel naked if I don't have an inner corner highlight. I just feel like it adds so much for me. Okay, for lips, the 2 choices I gave y'all were the new, well, they're not that new now, Huda Beauty matte lipsticks. I think they were like power bullets, but y'all actually chose these from NARS, which this is their new summer collection. It's just their, what are these called? The Velvet Matte Lip Pencils, which I love these anyway, so thanks guys for picking something good. Well, you guys picked a lot of good things because I'm really happy with this look so far. So while looking at these shades, I think I am going to stick to something more like, I'm liking this color here. This one is called Dance Fever, and maybe we'll mix it with a little bit of Good Times. So while these are matte, they're not like powdery and dry feeling. They are really nice and creamy. The only thing is, obviously, you do need a sharpener for them. So I'm happy with that color, but I just want to see how this one looks too because I haven't worn this yet. Okay, just kind of all over. It just lightens it slightly. Here's the final look. Thank you guys so much for picking my makeup today. Let me know what you guys think of this look down below. Is it something you would wear? If you decide to recreate it, I would love if you sent me a photo over on Instagram or Twitter, although I'm definitely way more active on Instagram. Also, if you guys didn't know, I do weekly giveaways on there, so if you are interested, definitely head over that way. Just a quick little overview of the products that I use. I guess I already talked about this palette just now. The foundation really did take me by surprise, but y'all saw that definitely did take some testing. I definitely am going to use it again, trying with the CC Plus cream or just mixing it with some sort of illuminator. But if you have skin type similar to me where you're like dry and combo and you like building up your coverage, I would definitely recommend applying it with like a beauty blender or some type of sponge. This just really didn't do it for me. But let me tell y'all, this I think is going to stay on my vanity. The pigmentation of these blushes really did take me by surprise. So I'm excited that I pulled it out and that you guys voted for it. And this lip combo, I think this is going to be like a good everyday lip color for me. But that is it for this one. As always, thanks so much for spending part of your day with me. Let me know what other videos you guys would like to see this week. Also, if you have some more time, you can always check out one of these videos here. And yeah, if you haven't already, you can always subscribe if you want to see some more of me, and I will catch y'all in the next one. Bye.